is Allie Kench.
This is the bad boy, Joey Janela.
I'm Nick Wayne, and you're watching a Tony D joint.
And you're watching.
You're watching a Tony D joint.
Oh, fuck.
And you know you're watching one of those marvelous Tony D joints. Where's my fucking camera?
Vitality, duality, who value me? No one got no one. I make ends and blow them. Can't show you my values, cause I do not know them. I'll end up below them by poisons and problems. It's 1983, next year's 1984. You are they cut down all the trees. The bees are dying, water's drying. 1983, bet your 1984 bring crying. Big brother, don't trust one another. Get smothered by the coverage. We can see you, we can be you, we are near you. We are your friends and your family. You understand it, me bugs in technology. Formal apologies. Pigs flying on wings that flash red and blue. Dying to sling rats and lead in you. They see the fear in your eyes and there ain't no disguise that can hide all your thoughts from the internet bots that got infinite stamina. Fit in your camera. 1983, lost my mind in 84 for lying. 1983, brothers watching your door, no defying. 19, rape my genes, take my DNA and start untying. Unwinding, unwinding, unwinding. Horses for it worsens. 1983, people marching down the street get shot in 1984. AI marching down the street, we're not in 1983. Human slaves on cash, obey your master.
Welcome to Indeed. It's me, Mike Hanley, here to talk some independent wrestling with your favorite people from in and around the world of independent wrestling. With my co-host, as always, Righteous Reg. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great today, Mike. It's your boy, Righteous Reg, your favorite rapper, your favorite writer, your favorite podcaster in the building. It's Indeed. Very excited. We started off the show pretty hot today. Very exciting way to kick it off. Got some good music. We got some dope videos. And we got the man that did that video here today on the show, Mike. I'm very excited to talk with this person today.
Absolutely. You saw the video. You saw the end of it. It was a Tony D joint.
Yep,
and it's a Tony D interview. Welcome to the show, Tony D. How you doing, man?
How you doing, guys? Thank you so much for having me on. I was looking forward to this one for a long time. I was very excited when Mike hit me up a little while ago about being on the show, and glad we finally got to make it happen.
Absolutely. So, you know, your work kind of speaks for itself. We saw it off the top of the video there, but you've had like a very unique ringside perspective for some of the coolest shit that's happened within the four corners of a wrestling ring and beyond it. First of all, I guess don't forget to purchase the Orange Kill Crew hoochies in time for Deadlock on August 13th.
Thank you. I appreciate the reminder. I'm gonna need that like every week up until then, because I keep saying, like, you know, I have these like orange like RVD shorts that I got from Chalk Line, but like I was wearing, they're like a little too long and they were before I started going to the gym. So it's like now I got to show the quads off. You know what I'm saying? So I gotta get the orange ones in time for deadlock, just for the boys.
There you go. Jokes aside, and you know, Twitter references aside, gotta know. So like, how did you become like the mastermind behind the Tony D joint? Like, when did all of this start for you? And you know, what led you to it, really?
So I went to college for digital media production, straight out of high school, and I was originally actually going to go to Florida at Full Sail until my parents talked me out of it, saying that like it'd probably be better to stay local. Like they didn't think I was ready to go off on my own yet, which, you know, it's kind of like it was one of those things where, you know, I was upset about it at the time because I was a big, you know, WWE fan and NXT, that whole connection. And that like it's one of those things where like you don't realize like why it happened until like years later. Now I can look back on that decision and be very grateful because I would have never known about indies or the hotbed that's the Northeast and, you know, GCW and all that stuff. I originally actually went to college to do audio engineering because that's what the DJ and DJ Tony D was for. I was like learn how to DJ since the time I was 13 through my parents, and then once I got into it in college, I wasn't too fond of it anymore, and I shifted over to the video aspect, which I had already learned by taking broadcasting in high school. And around sometime in 2017, I saw a Harry Aaron video. It was this music video for Beyond Wrestling's American Rana 17 on YouTube, a show that I attended, and I'm like in the background of that, you could see. And then I saw it, and it was just like it just blew me away because I didn't realize that there was a market for that in wrestling. Wrestling music videos, like actually like cinematic looking content. It was also around the time that Lucha Underground was big, so that was a big part too in like discovering that could be a thing. And so later on in 2018, there was this promotion by my school in Providence called Wrestle Party. It was like a small, like kind of like half improv, half wrestling like promotion. You could fit like 50 people in this like cramped little theater, and I noticed that somebody that I went to school with did the audio for them. And then I asked him like, how do you get in this place? Like I want to do some video stuff. He sent me the promoter's Facebook, reached out to him, told him what I wanted to do, and then he gave me some footage from the last show, and he was like, all right, here's some footage, use this song, let me see what you can make out of it. And then from then on, he was just like, we want you a part of every show moving forward, and shooting if you want to. And so I did. I would shoot and edit, and that was the first promotion I did. Well, what weren't at the time Tony D joints, but video, like wrestling music videos. About October 2018 is when that started.
Wow, that's really dope to think about, kind of, because you know, I think a lot of people like see a story and a journey like yours, and they think it's like it happens so quickly. And I mean, I think to really achieve the place you want to be, it's going to take some time, and it might take you kind of pivoting and going off into something different to get there. Did you have any before going into in the school? You had like aspirations of getting into wrestling after college, or was it something that you just kind of like, I'm doing this, maybe I can translate it into this type of thing?
I mean, I really did, especially when I thankfully in my program, you know, it covered a little bit of everything. So you had audio engineering, you had video, you had radio, Photoshop, After Effects, all that stuff. So like I didn't have to like make a drastic change. I just had to shift more of my focus. I didn't really know. I definitely didn't think that, you know, I would be, you know, where I am today, or that this would be like a regular thing for me, or that this would what I would be known for. It's kind of just like, you know, I know how to do this. There's a few people that think I'm good at this, so I'm just gonna, you know, keep going with it. You know, see where it goes. I didn't really have, you know, any concrete goals because I didn't really because I thought the same thing. Like I knew that it would take some time, and a lot of the people that I looked up to were in their like early mid 30s or something like that, and I'm like at the time I was just like a teenager, early 20s, so like
Mhm.
I was just like, oh, it's gonna take a while, so like I didn't really have any like real high hopes or expectations, but it was kind of just like uh like showing face and just going to everything, like even if I wasn't like
Mhm.
shooting or anything, it was kind of just making connections with places just all around me, whether it's New England or just the Northeast in general. And then the more I show my face around, it's kind of just like by the time I actually wanted to do work, they knew me as a person and as a character.
Right.
But so like, and then I built a reel or like a portfolio at this place in Providence, so that by the time I go to these other places, I'm like, hey, I do this. I've done stuff here. Can I do stuff here? And then, snowballs into that.
That's awesome. Um, Something that it's a unique characteristic of the Tony D joint is it's kind of there's two very unique factors to a lot of your work. It's one of them is the song selection. You have a very eclectic, like no genre is safe, anything goes kind of taste for your song selections, and then also shooting all this footage yourself. Obviously, you have your own unique footage, your own unique perspective. I want to
Mhm.
kind of talk a bit about both of those things, starting with the music. How, like, where did I knowing now that you had plans of
DJ.
DJing, it makes
Mhm.
more sense where this like varied taste in music comes from. But what where do you kind of decide between what vibe you're gonna go with for a particular video, given that you have such a wide taste in music?
And does like do like the people, the fans, so to speak, do they play a role in kind of like the direction? Or are you just kind of like, I think the song is dope and I think it'll make a dope video?
So yeah, so like a lot of people like they like to say, oh, I like a little bit of everything, but
Mhm.
I truly like a little bit of everything, and I was
Right.
that way all my life since growing up, because so my dad was a DJ and my mom was and still is a DJ, and they met together through working together at like
Wow.
local clubs back in the day. And then from the time I was little, like I used to listen to all different types of stuff, just around the house on the radio.
Two
And
DJ parents, you were listening to music in the womb at that point, I'm
yeah,
sure.
exactly. I wouldn't be surprised if they put headphones up to my mom's stomach at some
Right.
point. So yeah, I've always liked a little bit of everything growing up. And yeah, about the time I was 13, I started to assist my mom get into the business that way. And then it got to the point where I do still do it, but on a much more light schedule, because I'm
Mhm.
focusing more on the film stuff. But for years, like we would kind of just be like a mother son duo, where she would handle the mic work, I would handle the board work, and
Mhm.
do a lot of corporate gigs that way. That's another thing too, is that a lot of people, you know, starting out, like they'll start out with like the clubs or like the house parties or like stuff like that, and then work their way up to the corporate stuff. Where like my mom, she was already established, so the gigs I was getting into with her was kind of the other way around.
Mm.
Um, so like a lot of high end hotels in Boston, stuff like that. Um, but when I first started making videos, I didn't realize like what you could do. So when I was working that place in Providence, it had like a very like underground like punk rock aesthetic to it, and admittedly
Mhm.
that was a genre that I wasn't too familiar with. So I would always ask the promoter, who was musically inclined himself, and I asked him, just like, what song do you want for this? And he would usually have like a playlist, or he would just send me just a new song every time. Like, I think this would fit this very well, and I would learn more about that genre or about a specific artist. And so they would be songs like 5 years ago. It was a lot of times it was songs that I'd never heard before from an artist that I never heard before. And I would just listen to it over and over again and just kind of plan spots in my head and then just put the pieces all into place. But it would be seamless, like
Mhm.
as if I already knew what was going on. And then around, I'll say like 2000, probably like 2020-ish was when I was starting to select more stuff on my own. And I didn't really know if the stuff that I listened to, even though it is diverse, like I didn't know if the stuff that I listened to had like a market for it. So when I saw editors like one of the first examples was Abdullah. He did a lot of the violence and suffering videos and stuff on his own. He would use a lot of like he's the reason I got into City Morgue and like Sauce Milan Tilakami, and like just that kind of like harder like rap style. Artists like Josiah, who I would make popular through like the ICW videos with the Pit Fighter videos and stuff like that. And once I learned that like you could use stuff like that, I was just like, oh, okay. So like I don't want to, be a carbon copy, but it's just like it kind of opened the door to be like, okay, I can use stuff like that. And then later down the line was when I was realizing, okay, there's a lot more editors coming in, and a lot of them are using stuff like this. So how can I be different? Right. Or like this is what people would expect. So let me do something outside the box. Like let me pick songs that either my two favorite kinds of compliments are about the music, like what Mike does a lot, where he asks like, what song is this, or who's this by, which I love and appreciate, or like if people could say like I put them on to something, like for local promotion, Fight Life, I use this artist called Internet Girl, which is like kind of like a rock hyper pop type of band from Australia, and I use like 1-2 songs maybe from them. And then he messaged me randomly one day. And he was like, yo, I've been listening to that song like so much. I looked them up on Spotify, and now they're like one of my favorite artists on there and stuff like that. So I like putting people on to artists that they've never heard of before, like maybe smaller artists, or songs that they never would have thought would like work out in that type of way, or remind them of a song that like they hadn't heard in like a decade or so. Two prime examples of that were when I used I Think by Tyler the Creator for the DPW first anniversary show. I think somebody was just like, I love the choice of Tyler, but this definitely isn't the first song I would have thought of using for a wrestling music video, but you made it work so well. And then another one is the GCW Joey Janela's Spring Break 7, the last one, I think it was 7 or 8, the one that just passed in Los Angeles, where I used I Like It by Enrique and Pitbull, which a lot of people were blown away by, because like again, it's not a song that you would think of for a wrestling music video. Plus it's a song that people probably haven't heard since like 2010. But like I had that in mind for months, like literally months. I was like, I knew I'm gonna shoot this. I knew that's the song I wanted to do it to. And mostly the inspiration for that is because Spring Break, Joey's from Jersey, Jersey Shore, that was popular at the time. There's a version of the music video where the Jersey Shore cast is in the song's video. So that was the whole connection that I made there. And that was one of those videos. It's very rare where I just feel like everything is perfectly in place. Like as I was editing that video, similarly to when I was editing the video that played at the beginning of the show, where it's just like everything I'm like, everything's meant to be like right here. Like the slow motion is meant to be here. This move is meant to be here. This break is meant to be here. And it just all comes together like really good. But yeah, I'm always trying to be outside the box, like pick different things that, nobody's expecting, and, throw them off their game. I like how with the Violence is Forever video that I put out, like Mike was just like, when you think violence is forever, you think like some like really like aggressive and like fast paced and like in your face and something like that. And then I ended up using like a slower kind of more somber type of song that like picks up, going into it. And even the inspiration for that was just like, it came on while I was in the gym. And then at the intro reminded me of Zombie by the Cranberries, which is what they come out to. And I'm just like, I could use this for Dom and Kevin someday. So once I gathered enough matches of them, I was just like, yeah, I could do this.
Oh shit! How long were you sitting on that song for them?
A little bit.
Damn. All right.
That's what happens sometimes, is that like I hold out on making videos for people until I know I have enough footage, which I usually try to. 5 matches is a good sweet spot. Like I could work with 4, very rarely with 3, depending on the kind of match or how much they have. Sometimes I get impatient and like I just make things. Like like last year I made a video for Masha, one for Jordan Oliver, for ideas that I just really wanted to get out there, and I'm thinking like, oh, I should have waited a little longer because like I have so many matches of them now. So like it's almost to the point where I might make like a version 2 or like a remastered version of it, which is actually something I've never done. But remastered Tony D joints, kind of just like maybe a year or 2 forward, just to see the progression, could be a cool idea.
Well, yeah, I guess because the progression of everything even would be probably multifaceted. Like not only have the wrestlers improved, your skills as an editor and everything, a videographer, all of that. Like even the clips something I noticed with the like the Hartford video that you just put out was especially with that one, because I don't know why, but for some reason that one everyone seemed to be diving over the ring post that you were standing at. And like you're following with the camera is like I was like, oh shit, like everyone's just there in frame the whole time. It's pretty awesome, honestly.
I try my best. I put it in the comments of the video about like how that cartwheel spot where I was just like, like right directly underneath when he was doing like the red arrow looking gimmick off the top. I tried to track that the best that I could, and I'm gonna keep trying stuff like that and like see if I can get better. But I knew that in the opening 4-way, Dustin Flash Waller does the tope over the corner. And I remember specifically like everybody was like pointed at the ground because like the 3 other guys were outside fighting, and like all the photographer, the other 2 guys, they were like that, and I'm just like, wait, where's Flash? And I look, and he's in the ring getting set up in the corner, and I'm just like, oh, he's gonna do the thing. And I think I even like tapped somebody on the back. I'm like, yo, he's gonna do the thing, like go over here. So like in a matter of seconds, I'm trying to like place myself, because I'm like mentally I knew that's the kind of shot I wanted, where it's like when he's like right over me, just like get right underneath that. And that's usually what I like to do with outside dives. I mean, I try to get different stuff so that it doesn't look like the same shot every time, but it's a cool visual when it comes out right. And yeah, that was a prime example of it. I like the way that came out, and so did he. He commented on it too.
Right. When you talked a little bit about how you saw Harry Aaron's video of the Beyond Wrestling show, and it kind of inspired you. Did you go and do like some research on some people in the past that were doing music videos? I mean, you could find things on YouTube of past things to kind of get inspiration, or did you kind of have a vision of what you wanted to do moving forward? Because your videos are very unique. When you see a Tony D video, like, it's Tony D. It's not like, I can't think of anybody else that's doing it like you. Did you get any inspiration, or did you just kind of have the vision yourself of how you wanted to do it moving forward?
When it came to the music videos specifically, it was definitely Harry, but just wrestling videos in general, like back in like 2017, 18, I was watching a lot of him. I was watching a lot of Kenny Johnson, Ray Zombie. That's when Giancarlo was starting to get involved with GCW.
Right.
And yeah, those guys in particular that I can think of. I got connected with a guy named David Velasaka, who works with like House of Glory and WWN Network. So he was a big connection early on when it comes to second camera footage for like mini docs that he would put on his Vimeo page, stuff like that. But when it came to music videos, Harry was probably like the main inspiration for it. And it's like it's basically just like, I want to do this, but I want to take it to another level. Also, point to that is the song that he used for that very first video that I saw, which is still probably like one of my favorite videos, like anywhere on the internet. Is just like it was Survival by Muse, which is the song that I use for the Tournament of Survivals. The first one I shot was last year, TOS 7, and then I was trying to think of like, okay, how can I change it up for TOS 8? And I was just like, I couldn't think of another song that was as fitting, vibe-wise, lyrically, stylistically, that was as grandiose for like a tournament of that nature, especially since it, grew, from 8 to 12 people this year. So I think I actually like put a poll up on Twitter. I was just like, how would you guys feel if I just used this again, but just tried to make it better? And then everyone was on board with it. So I feel like I don't say it enough, but whenever I do use that song, especially for those videos, it is like a tribute to Harry in that very first video that I saw back in 2017.
That's dope.
It's fire. So how long after a show's over are you already kind of planning things out, or like are you seeing stuff happen in the ring and you're like, okay, I know that's probably gonna, like, do you get an idea for stuff as you're seeing it happen even, or is it all post show?
It depends, because sometimes I'll go into a show not knowing what song I'm gonna use like at all. And it'll just kind of come to me during the editing process. Like sometimes I'll just have to do some, looking up. Maybe somebody just has an album that came out recently, and that kind of like helps me out sporadically. Or it'll be a case of like, even though it wasn't for a show, like the Dom and Kevin video, it's just like I was just in the gym, something came on, and I'm just like, oh yeah, I'll use it for that. That was a case where like a song that I listen to very heavily in the gym these days came on, and then I was like, I'm gonna use this for something someday, and then I thought of what I'm gonna use it for, and it's for an event that usually happens yearly, but it hasn't been announced yet, and so I'm waiting for it. But when it happens and wherever it is, I'm gonna be there, and that's the song I plan on using. So where I'm just waiting for the announcement. So we'll see. But like stuff happens like that where it's like it could be months ahead of time, it could be, day of the show, could be after the show.
Trying to think of which one that is now.
We'll see.
It'll come. So you're out there, Tony, for a lot of the action. What's been some of your favorite things that you've seen out there with your own camera and your own eyes that you've gotten to immortalize in one of your videos?
Kind of like favorite shots. Like
favorite spots, favorite shots you've done yourself.
I mean, I love shooting dives of like any kind. Like it's just kind of, especially with my like point of view, it's like very unique. I remember one of the most like perfect shots I got was Kota Ibushi's moonsault on the outside to Joey in the spring break video, because it was another one of those things where it's just like it helps so much when you already know the move set of who's involved,
right?
So you know where to stand, you know when this is going to happen, you know how it's going to land. And so when I saw Joey on the outside, I saw him building up in the corner. I'm like, oh, he's going to do the thing. And then again, you only have so many seconds to like mentally be like, okay, if he does this, and if he basically it's just like if he runs this way, if he spends this much time in the air, like because I try to track the body the best I can, because there have been times where I've missed big shots, and I've been I'll beat myself up about it because I'm like, oh, you pan to the ground too fast and they didn't hit yet. And it's like, because sometimes people's bodies take like a million years to fall, and you thought that it was gonna like hit really quick, but then sometimes it works out very perfect like that. There's a good example of one of my favorites recently actually was from the three-way from GCW Now and Forever that just happened in Melrose Ballroom in Queens this past Friday during the match with Gringo Loco, Ares, and Commander, where Commander was doing his tightrope moonsault to the outside to the other two, where again, when he was doing the tightrope, right underneath the feet, and then by the time he did the moonsault, it was just perfect tracking. And like I knew right there, I was just like, oh yeah, that's the shot. Like that, I was. It's kind of it's kind of like one of those. Commander's one of those people where it's just like, if I get the commander spot, then I'm set for the rest of the night. You know,
Right.
It's like I don't even care what else I get, because it's like that's my money shot.
Yeah.
I love shooting death matches the most, probably. Like those are my bread and butter. It's crazy how I even got into that, because like I remember, like, you know, growing up as a kid, you know, I'm just a big WWE fan.
Right.
And then every now and then on like Facebook or YouTube, I would come across like, you know, CZ, like best of CZW 2009 or something like that. And then I would just see like quick little glimpses of what's going on. And I'm like, oh my God, like I can't believe these guys are doing that to each other. That's so gross. And like
Crazy as shit.
And then fast forward to like, you know, 2020. And like, that's when, you know, in an age where like not a lot of stuff was running, you know, that's when deathmatch was thriving. And so I kind of just made sure I was, you know, everywhere, and I was in like the right place, right time. And, you know, whether it was GCW, ICW, No Peace, you know, Florida, Jersey, like I was there. And, yeah, I feel like that definitely helped a lot with me too. Anything that, I mean, I have the shirt on right now, anything with Rena. I love Rena. Like, she's probably like my actual favorite wrestler. Like, I'm still a big fan at heart. And so sometimes it's like hard to, you know, keep a shot steady when like internally I'm so excited about something.
Right.
Like my favorite match to this day that I've probably shot, like there's so many, like if I actually sat down to, you know, rank them, I could probably get a better idea. But first one that sticks out to my head is her and Toru versus Los Macizos when they made their comeback to GCW.
Last year.
Yeah, at the first Cage of Survival. That was just like the environment in the carousel room. Like, you know, you really just had to be there. Like you know, the feed, you know, even my, you know, footage, like I didn't release anything with audio, but it's just like, it doesn't do it justice. Like you just had to be there for that. And, you know, just all four of them are just super special. You know, I'm lucky that I've been able to work with them, you know, so much now. And, you know, by having those opportunities to give me connections with people like outside the country, like to the point where, you know, between all the companies that I work for, really, not just GCW, but like the connections that I have, to the point where if I were to go to Japan, you know, I could see certain people and like they would know who I am, they would know my name, they would know my face. You know, it's
in Japan. That's why.
Right. Like it's weird having those kinds of connections. Like I'm a tough critic on myself, like all the time. But then like, you know, sometimes, you know, my parents will talk to me and they'll be like, you know, look at your friends from high school. You was like, you think any of them know people in Japan and Australia and Canada and, you know, doing what you're doing? And I'm just like, yeah, I guess you have a point. You know, like,
Yeah.
like it's weird. It's such like a niche thing, but it's just it's crazy how easy, well, I shouldn't say easy, but like just how much you can grow just in, you know, this community.
Absolutely. How many of your friends how many of your friends get interviewed by the best wrestling podcast out there, you know?
That's true. How many of your friends have been on this show?
Yeah.
From school, I don't think I could count any.
Yeah, there we go. See, true. Outside of school, actually, come to think of it, so we had Effie definitely fills the wrestling the portion of GCW. MLJ covers the ring announcing and commentary. We've got Tony D here for some videography and video production work. We had Ref Stevens here for referee wise. I bet basically Brett. Come on,
Brett.
Come on, Brett.
Brett. Come on, Brett.
Come on, Brett.
That's the guy. That's the holy grail, right?
We've had covered every other position at this point. Let's go.
You're putting it out there. You're manifesting it for yourself.
And we're always talking about GCW on the show, like every week.
Good shows. Talk about independent wrestling. They're making constant news.
Big news today, right?
Yeah, Korakuen Hall kind of news.
Mm-hmm.
Insane, absolutely
Insane.
insane. Like every new thing that gets announced, it's just like how, like just like how do you just keep topping yourself in just such like little time, really? Like
Mm-hmm.
when you
Hmm.
when you look at the real like breakout of GCW, it started in 2020, and then fast forward and it's we're 2020 was the first homecoming,
Yeah.
the summer of that year, and now it's like homecoming 2023, and to think that it's only been 3 years and how much has happened in those 3 years
It's huge.
is wild. Well, there's new venues, talent they've been able to bring in, just numbers
Matches.
across the board. Oh,
Yeah.
I've been the opportunity to be with and around them is just like it's given me the opportunity to film not just like some of the best matches, but just some of the like wildest, biggest names that
Mhm.
would have never thought I would have the opportunity to see live like that. In my wildest dreams, like Moxley, Minoru Suzuki, Ruby Soho, Jeff Jarrett. Wild.
You literally got to film Will Ospreay versus Kenny Omega 2 just last weekend.
I mean, yes, it's as good as it gets, other than being like at Forbidden Door.
Right.
Yeah. Oh my god. What is going through your mind when you're like forearms leaning on the apron watching, Mike Bailey, Tiger Driver, Yoshihiko all over
I mean,
Melrose Ballroom?
I don't know how long that match was, but I was smiling from ear to ear like the entire time. When I saw the graphic, because there's there's the big screen on the stage and the Melrose Ballroom, and they have like TVs behind the bar area. So
Mhm.
that's where you can see where the graphic will come up for the next match, like the shout out Freddie Faded, the Freddie Faded graphics in the background, and then they'll play the package on the screen. And when I saw that one was coming up, I think I went to Jeremy, who's one of the photographers ringside, and Billy, one of the GPW production guys. And I was just like, I was just going to everybody. I'm just like, I'm so excited. I was like, I'm so ready for this. I was like, I'm so happy. Like, I think I did that like somewhere in the middle of the match, like because sometimes you have like three of us like bunched up in one corner trying to like get this one thing, and I forget what happened. And then I just like lean over to Billy and I'm just like, I'm so happy right now. Like it's just like anytime I get to shoot like Yoshihiko like that, like I love that stuff. Like
Mhm.
one of the top matches that I regret not being in the position to film like that yet would be like, just thinking about it right now, is Invisible Man versus Invisible Stan from
Mhm.
Spring Break 3,
Oh,
because making the spots out for that in a video would definitely be one of my biggest creative challenges. But
oh, oh yeah.
but the stuff
Yeah.
that I got from I mean, I remember just from the DDT show in Los Angeles that that opening tag match with Chris Brooks and Yoshihiko, that was like one of my favorite matches of the whole weekend. And then just anytime I get to shoot Yoshihiko is a great thing. And then like I was reacting like a fan, like sometimes during that too, when like Speedball was just ramming his face into the guardrail and uh busted Yoshihiko open, and just
Oh
like
yeah.
there was a few false finishes where I was just like, are you kidding me? Like how?
When you when Yoshihiko got busted open and then Ref Perch put on the gloves for the ketchup, that's where I went to like another plane of happy existence.
Mhm.
I
That's
agree.
Cinema, some would say.
some, not you, but some.
I wouldn't say it, but some would.
No, it's not really. It's theater. Let's
Right. Get it right. Get it right.
Yeah.
I was trying my best to like look at the faces too, because Melrose is a very it could be a very casual crowd sometimes. There's definitely
Yeah.
it's one of those GCW crowds where when they run there in New York, there's a lot of people there that are coming there for their first time, or like, they're just used to the, TV wrestling, and then they show up there. Like there, you'll see a lot of WWE shirts, AEW shirts, belts around the waist or on the shoulder. So it's like you can tell that it's like, oh, like they're not used to, being here. So me personally, that show on Friday was my favorite show that they've ever ran in Melrose Ballroom that I've ever attended. And it just had, a great amount of variety. You had singles, you had multi-man, you had tag matches, you had lucha, you had intergender, you had a women's main event, you had Yoshihiko and Speedball. I don't even know what category to put that in, but like
Match of the year.
it was one of those. That was one of those where it's just like, I try to stay, uninterrupted the best I can, like when I'm working. But that was the one where I had to pull my phone out after, and I was just like, I don't think I'll ever shoot anything better than this. Like I don't know how you top something like that.
Yeah, so how you do a pretty good job of like you're on task with the camera, but like are there any moments that have just taken you like right out of it where you're like, holy fuck?
In what way?
You kind of just like lose focus with the camera, or like you just forget that you're there filming for a second?
Off the top of my head, not really. There were some moments in that the match that I mentioned, like Rina, Toru, and them Cizos, where like behind the camera, like my jaws dropped, or like I'm holding the camera with one hand and the other hand wants to like pound the ring, but it's like I can't because that would make the shot shaky. But it's just like I'm holding my composure the best I can. Or there'll be times where, I try to balance it out because I'm not like one of the roaming cams and I shoot, highlights specifically. I'll shoot, if it's a really good match that I like a lot and I know that everyone's going to come rushing up afterwards, I'll shoot like a bit of the, the victory, the hand raise, whatever. And then I'll just like put my stuff down for a second and just like show the respect and just like, pound the ring like crazy. Like sometimes you see it, sometimes you might not. I don't know, depending on what side it's on, but it's just like, yeah, it's hard sometimes.
Well, got some love here in the chat. Freddie Faded sent us a super chat. Tony always looks handsome on my TV.
My man, I love that guy.
Yeah, that's good to see through too with GCW and a lot of other promotions picking up with using the independent creators as well to to produce video packages for them and do video work and highlight packages and stuff like this.
Right.
So who like all the places, like who's giving you the love that you want to shout out in terms of all the places that have given you your opportunities and keeping you working right now?
I mean, pretty much anywhere that's ever given me, the opportunity to do my thing. Like, first and foremost, Wrestle Party, who, currently don't run anymore because they stopped running during the pandemic, haven't come back since. But if they came back, I would be back in a heartbeat because, I just love that place. I love the promoter. Shout out Sully. And then, anywhere where I do any type of work for, like regularly, GCW, DPW, North Carolina, that place means a lot to me. Like, I tell them every time, I'm just like, you guys are what like keeps my love for wrestling alive, because they take care of me like nobody else, and they mean a lot to me because like they started out as YouTube guys, James, Tony, and Johnny, and I'm only 25, so back in the I was playing the WWE games on my Xbox and watching their videos on YouTube from the time I was like a young teenager, and then fast forward following the YouTube stuff and then getting into the podcast, and then they start a wrestling company. And I remember from the first day when they had a wrestling company, I reached out to them I didn't hear anything back, but I assumed it was because they were already all set. And then another guy who, you know, I definitely look up to, Dan, who's Pro Wrestling Cinema. He was with them because he was local. And then when he started getting busy with all the other promotions he was working for, he told me, like, you know, like, expect a message from these guys. You know, they're gonna, you know, I told him I couldn't do this show, and you were the first name I brought up. So, you know, I just took it with a grain of salt because I don't want to, you know, go into anything with like expectations or a big head or anything. So, and then eventually I got a follow from James. I got a message from him after, asked if I was available this date for this show. And that was last April. And that was the first show I did for them, was DPW Forever. And then there was always a conflict from there to November, but they always kept me in mind. You know, after a while, I start to get self-conscious, like, oh, if I keep saying no so many times, they're just going to give up on me. They're not going to ask me to come out anymore because this guy's always busy, so let's move on. But they always kept me in mind. And then that November of last year was DPW World's Strongest. And it was the first show I came back from since April. And I knew I had something to prove. Mentally, I had something to prove to myself. Like, I was like, okay, this has got to be, you know, shot wise. Hold on a second. What happened? Jesus Christ. I had a Adobe thing come up on my screen.
Love it.
All right, I'm here. Okay, so I just, like, shot wise, video wise, I was like, okay, I got to prove something. So when I made the video, it got great reception from everybody, like fans, like all those guys. It was like, I got a shout out for it on the podcast. Johnny said it made him cry. James said it made him emotional. And those are all, like I said before, like, those are always my favorite kinds of compliments. And I've been a regular there, you know, ever since. So just, like, you know, to an extent, even more than GCW, like, even though that those have given me opportunities with such big people, you know, from like a, you know, sentimental value, like, it kind of brings out, like, you know, the childhood in me, you know, being like, you know, these guys just met me like last year, but like I've known these guys for like over a decade now, you know, because of YouTube. So, you know, now working for their wrestling company where the quality is good, they're growing, and you know, it's a word that gets thrown around a lot, but like, it's genuinely like a family environment in that locker room. Like, I've never been to North Carolina, you know, until working with them. Like, I did go once for a GCW show in Charlotte, but that was just like, you know, one and done. I wasn't regularly in Charlotte. So, you know, working with them regularly, getting to know the people out there, people that have come up to me, you know, paying me compliments and saying, like, you know, like, this is the only wrestling I follow, and like, I didn't know who you were until, you know, this company. You know, it's crazy having that, you know, just in all different parts of the country or even outside the country. So then, and then oh, sorry, I was just like, I went off.
No, keep going.
Keep going.
Give it up to the places for sure.
Yeah, Pro Wrestling Grind, Limitless Wrestling, Fight Life, JCW, ICW, No Holds Barred, Violence and Suffering, all those promoters, you know, and then just, you know, all the names that I mentioned before, like all the people that I grew up with watching video wise, you know, that just about everybody who I've ever like watched, you know, like back, you know, when I was just getting started or I was still in school, I've either met them or I've made some type of connection with them to the point where either I've worked with them now or they've praised my work in some way, shape, or form, which is always like crazy to me because, like I said, there's nobody that's harsher, you know, on themselves than me. And like, as a creator, I feel like everyone's always their own worst critic, but, you know, like, to get that gratification and like that recognition from them being like, no, like, you're good, you know, like, you can hang with us. Like, nobody's ever, you know, big leagued me backstage or ringside or anything like that. Everyone's always accepted me with open arms, no matter where I go. And, you know, I'm very appreciative of that all around.
Excellent. So Tony, we talked about earlier you mentioned you didn't really see yourself being like at this point with the video work, and you're happy to be here. But where, now that you are, where do you want to take it from here? What do you have, what goals do you have for yourself going forward with this? Where do you want to take this?
Specifically, there's no one thing I would say. It's kind of just like I would love to have an opportunity with AEW at some point. I do know some faces behind the scenes over there, whether it be John Carlo, Pro Wrestling Cinema, Jeremy Tapes. Like, they have a very good crew over there, and I feel like they're covered top to bottom. But kind of like at DPW, like if a spot opens up or somebody has a sick day or anything like that, something as simple as that can change everything. All it takes is like one opportunity for them to like you enough, and then keep bringing you back until you're regularly in the fold. Number one place, I've had a passport for 2 years, but I've never gone anywhere with it. But number one place I definitely want to go is to Japan at some point. I don't think it'll be this year, but sometime very soon, hopefully in the near future, and just like building up those connections, like I said, through GCW, through DPW, with all the people that they bring in, like just all promotions through Freedoms, Gato Move, Choco Pro, Stardom, even just all around. Like, I feel like first thing that people would associate or think about is like New Japan, but it's like there's so much going around like outside of that. It's just like it's always been a place that I've always been interested in the environment, for the culture, and obviously for the wrestling. And I feel like that's a place that if I went to, I always say it's just like if I went to, I'd probably never come back. So which is something that when I bring it up, my mom gets very terrified of. But I just feel like I'd be very happy over there, just work like professionally, personally.
No, I feel that. I've heard, I know a few people that have gone to Japan for like not wrestling stuff, but like music stuff and just like vacations, and it's very similar sentiments. And I don't think I've heard it. I don't think I've heard somebody come back from Japan and ever have like a bad thing to say about their time there, except for it being over.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
All right. Well, Tony, we thank you very much for joining us, sharing in your creative process.
Great story.
Yeah, the
So
story
far.
for sure. A lot to come from it. We hope to see you reach all of those goals and then some. For the people who want to find you and check out your work, which you should, by the way, if you're watching this, do that. Where can they do that, Tony?
They can find me on Twitter and Instagram at DJ_Tony_D for both, and youtube.com/@DJ_Tony_D. I don't know why the ad is there, but it's just the way it is. And both of those links are in my Twitter and Instagram bios as well. So that's where you find me. It's where you find all my stuff.
Excellent. And Tony's YouTube channel link is in the video description below as well. So be sure to check that out. On a completely unrelated to everything we just talked about with Tony note, happy anniversary, Reg. It was actually last week's episode would have been 1 year of us doing this show together.
Oh, wow.
Since you came on as my wonderful co-host, that I couldn't actually imagine doing the show with anybody else now. I'm so happy to have you here every week.
Indeed, baby. I don't know. I don't know. It's been a year already. It's flown by. We've had some great times, some great guests, and I'm excited, man. Thanks for having me on as your guest, your permanent co-host.
It's our show now.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
No. So on that note, where can everyone find you, my dude?
If you're not seeing me on Indeed every Wednesday, you can see me every Wednesday night on the AEW post show with Denise on her YouTube page. We'll be on there tonight after Blood and Guts. I'm sure it'll be a very popular night tonight. Big show going on tonight. Tomorrow you can catch me at Ask Rhapsody is going to be in the daytime. And then I'm going to be on the Ring of Honor post show with Kate. I potentially am going to be on the Ring of Honor Death by Dishonor post show too. I mean, it's only kind of fitting as being the Ring of Honor talking about Guy brand on here. So that's potentially happening. And then, every Saturday is every Saturday is regular Grapsity, Philip Lindsay, the Fightful YouTube channel. And I'm everywhere. That's it.
So many podcasts, I can't even name them all.
I know, it's too many.
As for myself, every Wednesday here on Indeed, I was see, this is the part where I was going to do something earlier and I thought about doing it, and I've got high, procrastinated, forgot to do it. I was going to make a little graphic that said, because we have every week from now till September 6th, and including September 6th, we have a guest already lined up.
Wow.
So I was going to make a nice little graphic with all that coming up soon on this week and this
Next
week.
time.
But yeah, I shit the bed. Next week, the struggles is here. We're going to talk about some ETU and probably a whole bunch of deathmatch nonsense and who knows what else, because that man does everything. So
right.
In the meantime, we have end credits today. We're going to go out on a bang. We're going to run back that Tony D joint. Thank you very much again for joining us, Tony, and thank you everyone for watching. See you next week.
Peace, homies.
This is Allie Catch.
This is the bad boy, Joey Janela.
I'm Nick Wayne, and you're watching a Tony D joint.
And you are watching.
You're watching a Tony D joint.
Oh, fuck.
And you're watching one of those marvelous Tony D joints.
Vitality, duality, who value me? No one got no one. I make ends and blow them. Can't show you my values, cause I do not know them. I'll end up below them by poisons and pollens. It's 1983, next year's 1984. You are, they cut down all the trees. The bees are dying, water's drying. 1983, bet your 1984 bring crying. Brother, don't trust one another. Get smothered by the coverage. We can see you, we can be you, we are near you. We are your friends and your family. You understand it, me bugs and technology. Formal apologies. Pigs flying on wings that flash red and blue, dying to sling rats and lead in you. They see the fear in your eyes and there ain't no disguise that can hide all your thoughts from the internet bots that got infinite stamina. Fit in your camera. 1983, lost my mind in 84 for lying. 1983, brothers watching your door, no defying. 19, rape my genes, take my DNA and start untying. Unwinding, unwinding, unwinding. Horses for it.